It's now on. This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Okay. Oh, okay. You can just put it behind my computer. Also, where's here, Richie? Okay, sorry. That's helpful. Okay. Oh, sure is suddenly going into a big to do. Okay. Guess we're back. All right. So good morning to the Steves on Zoom.
Morning.
Steves, yeah, I have two of them. And Keller. Okay. Here, this is for Mike. Pass that to him. Okay, so we began Siman Reish Mem Zayin last time. We read Mishnah Berurah's comments Beis, Gimel, and Dalet. I skipped Aleph. So what I want to do is go back and read the Shulchan Aruch again. We were just towards the beginning. Read the halacha, which comes from the Gemara and the interpretation of the Rosh and the Rambam, their interpretation of the Gemara. What are the special dinim about sending a letter with a non-Jew? Send it before Shabbos, and particularly send it on Erev Shabbos. And now this is going to likely mean that on Shabbos the letter is going to arrive at its destination. It's going to be another problem in the background here is that it's going to be traveling over Shabbos. This letter will be traveling over Shabbos, perhaps outside of the tchum of your own city as it goes to the next city. So how do we deal with this? How do we relate to these cases? So let's read the Shulchan Aruch Reish Mem Zayin right from the beginning. Din einam Yehudim hamavim ksavim b'Shabbos. This talks about the laws of non-Jews who bring letters on Shabbos. Sholeach adam igeres biyad eino Yehudi va'afilu be'erev Shabbos im chashecha. The Jew sends an igeres, a letter with he puts it in the hands basically of a non-Jew, and he can do this even on Erev Shabbos. Even as it's getting close to the end of Friday, and Shabbos is an hour. Shabbos is in an hour. It's in 30 minutes. It's fine. But there are stipulations for when it is permitted. Number one, you have to have had a price that is paid to the non-Jew to do this on your behalf. It's a fixed price. I pay you this. You deliver a letter for me today. The equivalent. And by the way, I think in my Dirshu edition, this is made clear that stamps most certainly are a form of this today. You literally are paying X for every letter that you send, and if it's a little bit more weight, so you pay more, but it's a fixed price, and you pay the price that is very clearly. Usually, you pay it up front. It's not even that you're going to say, "I'll pay you at the end." You pay it up front. The one thing you cannot do is tell the non-Jew to take it for you on Shabbos. Just say, I need a letter delivered to Miami. I don't tell you when it needs to get there because it doesn't really matter to me as long as it gets there in the next X amount of days. So I don't tell you on Shabbos, it's not a problem. So this came up last week. We talked about the whole you overnight something. So pshat is that it should be usher. So Rabbi Eli Mansour has a daily halacha email, I guess, that he sends out. So Tommy and Steve are, I don't know if Steve Keller, you follow it also, but Steve Smith, they get this email, I guess, delivered to their inbox. Mamish, he's listening to our shir right now. Every week, they send me the thing that we're talking about in shir as the daily halacha. So he brought up a Chavos Yair.
It's a fact check.
So is a fact? He's fact checking. Correct. I failed to mention a Chavos Yair because I'm holding all the achronim. There's a concept called Amira de Amira. This is not let me just be clear. This is not a concept that appears in the Gemara. This is clearly I don't want to say it's a creation, but it's a svara. It's some logical reasoning to think that maybe if there's a secondary Amira, meaning, and actually I noticed in my Dirshu edition, they talk about this. I should have just looked on the other side of the page. He doesn't quote the Chavos Yair, by the way. It's interesting. He quotes someone else. But he says here, what about the case? V'chein bizmanenu, Hashaleach, you don't have this in your edition. I'm just reading from here. Hashaleach michtav mahir, also called Doar Express. That's right. Lifnei HaShabbos. You send express mail before Shabbos. It's not going to get to the person to whom it's addressed unless it goes on Shabbos. I'm telling them essentially it needs to go on Shabbos. It's not going to get there unless this thing is traveling on Shabbos, which means getting, someone's driving a truck, someone's flying a plane on your behalf. So nechshav ka'omer sheyaseh zos b'Shabbos. It's like saying do it on Shabbos. I didn't say it, but I told you it needs to get there by tomorrow by checking off the box that says express mail. Uv'makom tzorich gadol, it says in a time of great need, and by the Chavos Yar describe that as a makom mitzvah. If there's a mitzvah that I'm sending, something that's sending that is var mitzvah. How you define that also is a little bit complicated. Or if there was a great financial loss, also needs more definition, but let's work with Tzorech Gadol here. There's a great need. Kasa b'sheilus tchuas minchas Yitzchak, sheyesh lahaka. You could be maybe lenient. Al pi mashik kasav hashvus Yaakov, based on the tshuva of the shvus Yaakov, sheyesh lahaka v'davar, who he says you could be lenient on this matter. Keva, why? Kevan sheshalech hamichtav eino ba b'dvarim im hashaliach atzma. I never commissioned sort of the actual messenger to fly the plane or drive the truck. What did I do? I spoke to the person at the desk at FedEx or UPS, and I said I need this overnighted. I told them I needed it overnight, or I checked off the box, whatever. It was clear to that person I need this to be sent overnight, and it needs to arrive Saturday morning by to the person it is being addressed to. V'nachshav shvus to shvus, and it's like a double derabanan shemuter l'tzorech gadol, which we generally say a double derabanan we allow when it's a real great need. Shaharei hanochri hasholech b'shlichus ein holech al das ha'yisrael, because the mail carrier, the FedEx driver, or the UPS driver, or the guy who's flying the plane, he doesn't care what the Jew says. I have a job to fly a plane. My boss told me I have to fly the plane from here to so-and-so. So I fly the plane. I don't even look what's back there in the cargo. I don't care. My job is to fly from here to Miami. I don't care. So since the boss told the driver or the pilot, it's a step removed, and therefore maybe you could say it's mutter. This category, first of all, shvus to shvus is mutter. When you have two derabbanans toppled on, one on top of the other. An example of this would be, and now people are they're going to be up and on. I've given you so many chumras, now I'm going to give you a whopper of a kula. Okay? This is the psak of Rav Shechter. My Rebbe actually disagrees. It's a little more stringent for reasons based on science, how this works. But if you have, let's say, a light on, you forgot, by accident, you left your light on in your bedroom on Shabbos. And now it's Friday nights. And you're like, how am I ever going to sleep? I'm not the kind of person who can really fall asleep. It's the light above my bed is literally shining in my face the whole night. So I remember I was floored when I was told this when I was at YU. So you know what you can do? Turning off a light is a derabanan. And if you do it kilachar yad, if you do it in an abnormal way, you don't just flip the light on in a normal way. You use your nose, you use your elbow, you whatever. You throw a book at it. So that is doing something kilachar yad is already a derabanan. I mean, let's say I had a real do'oraisa, malacha do'oraisa. If I do it kila'achar yad, so I in an abnormal way, so I already lower it down to a derabanan. So I have here an issa derabanan done in a way that is derabanan. So I've toppled a derabanan and a derabanan. So we say b'makom mitzvah, or if there's a tzorech gadol, which again is hard to define, then it's mutter. Before the Shulchan Aruch. So basically, according to this, you could actually just knock the light off. I was like, what? Somebody said, oh, if your house alarm goes off by accident, somebody trips it, sets it off, whatever. So So my Rebbe's Rabbi Daniel Stein, like, yeah, you just take, your elbow or your nose and you just, you punch the code in. What? You could do that? I mean, I guess that makes sense, but otherwise the whole Shabbos will be. So, but that's how you could do it, at least in a way that's mutter. The Rabbi Weeder disagrees. My Rabbi disagrees about this, about the light, because he thinks at the end of the day, the malacha happens in the same way. Meaning, he doesn't call it lat kil achar yad when you flip the light switch, because the light, the part where the switch, sort of opens up or closes inside, the actual mechanism happens in a normal way. The malacha was normal. Even though the way you engaged in that malacha was abnormal, the malacha, he thinks that the malacha has to be done in an abnormal way, not just the way I interact with the malacha. That's his psak on that one. So my wife and I have sometimes arguments about that, but she follows Rosh Shechter, right? I'm bound by my Rebbe. But whatever, she does what she does.
There's another factor involved.
Yeah.
If the mail carrier is carrying 600 pieces of mail for all kinds of people, right?
Yes. Yes, he's doing excellent. Go, Richie. Finish up.
No, so he's not carrying my letter. He's carrying 600 other letters. He's got to do that anyway. So he's not really doing it on my behalf. I'm just throwing it on top.
Good. So he quotes here from the actually. So let me come back to Richie's point in just a second. So just to finish the shvus part. Here, this is schwer to say that it's a shvus. I mean, it's. You're just saying that the Nochri told the Nochri to do it. That's not a shvus to shvus. I get it. I say it's Amira de Amira. That was the Chavos Yair's argument that it's like the non-Jew told a non-Jew, and that's it's on the books. I'm not saying if you want to follow the Chavos Yair, I'm not on what you don't have what to stand upon, but it's a very difficult svara to say that. I remember in Newberger. While you brought this up in the context of Shirman Amir Lanochi, and I forgot the concept until Steve and Tommy sent me this article. I was like, oh, right. Because I think at the end of the day, he was basically like, it's not something we can just easily rely on. Again, if there's a real great tzorech, a real great need, so just remember it in your back pocket. But it's not something just because, it makes business easier that you're supposed to do. It's really, you should avoid overnighting something from Friday on into Saturday. It should ideally be avoided. Again, this is something in the back pocket. Now, to Richie's point, though, Richie was saying, well, what about the fact that the driver, the pilot, the mail carrier, they have 500 other pieces of mail in their bag or in their truck. So he says here, Tam nosaf l'hakel b'davar. You don't have this again here. It's the extra stuff I have here. So the Chelkas Yaakov says sheyesh lomar shekeven sheholech hashaliach l'shloch mechtavim shel anashim rabim. So he's taking care of many people here when he brings the letters. Einu nechshav kishlucho shel Yisrael dafka. He's not specifically considered like a shaliach of the Jew. And it's like the Indian about a light. Shehidliku nochri litzorko. If a non-Jew turns on the light anywhere and they do it for their own benefit, they want to read, they want to see something. So then it's mutter for Jews to benefit from that light. Not so pashut. I think I mentioned this recently, actually, not with this group, somebody. If a non-Jew comes in and sees you, like I'm in the library, and the staff will be like on Shabbos, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm looking for a book." They say, "Oh, do you want me to turn the light?" I said, "No, you can't." Lathandre, I can easily explain to him, like, you can't do that on my behalf. You can't turn it on for me because then I can't. Even though you did it without really asking me, I can't benefit from it. When a non-Jew turns it on for their own benefit, then a Jew can benefit from that malacha, even though it took place on Shabbos, because it wasn't done l'tzorach Yisrael. If it's done l'tzorach Yisrael, even if I didn't ask for it, but it was clear why it was being done, I'm not really supposed to use that light.
So anytime before Shabbos or even on Shabbos, you could say to your housekeeper, if you're uncomfortable with the heat of the air conditioner,
they can adjust it. Right. Yes. And then if you're uncomfortable,
right,
that's a good way to do it, because then they're doing it for themselves.
right.
Correct. But if they're just doing it because
really uncomfortable. Right?
So we will end up talking about this case at some point. The hinting is not as easy as everyone thinks it is. The hinting is basically telling them with just it's a code, and then usually they crack the code, because if they don't crack the code, you give them a new code, so you do want them to understand the end of it. So we'll talk about that case. It's not so simple. Yeah, I'm going to put it out of business. Yeah.
Never worked.
Yeah, correct. We'll talk. There are some circumstances where it works. Anyway, so Yesh, he says here, he doesn't like it, Richie. He doesn't like using that because it really isn't right. He says, for those who are doing it, will be dan l'kav schus, and we'll say this is the reason, because there are many letters, and it's a it's a post facto kind of justification. He doesn't outright paskin that you can go ahead and do this because again, it's not so clear that it should be mutter.
But if the Nano Yehudi, I know he's going to Baltimore to deliver 600 letters.
Right.
And I said, look, it's 2 minutes before Shabbos. I'll give you 58 cents to deliver this for me because you're going to Baltimore anyway.
So if you don't tell them that I need it to be done on Shabbos, you say, look, I hear you're heading in that direction, but I wouldn't care if they actually went on Sunday.
3 minutes before Shabbos, he's getting into his car.
So this is the case, right? If you katzas lo damim, and I don't tell them explicitly you have to go on Shabbos, by checking off express mail overnight, I'm telling them you have to go on Shabbos. But if I don't say that, and even though I know he's going to go to Baltimore in 5 minutes, he's leaving. It's fine. Then it's mutter because I didn't tell you to do it on Shabbos. And haraya, if the person went on Sunday in the end, and the letter gets there, okay, so it's fine. As long as I don't tell the non-Jew, you have to do malach on Shabbos, where you have to get there by X time, which will require you to be traveling on Shabbos on my behalf.
Yeah. So if you drop off a FedEx envelope
Before Shabbos, you're heading to shul, and on the way you stop.
FedEx closes at 7 o'clock, and Shabbos is 7 o'clock. At 3 minutes to 7, I drop it in your box.
As long as it's not an overnight mutter.
Overnight.
Overnight's a problem. That's a problem. That would be a problem. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Right.
Unless you really, I'm going to
But
use the
I don't tell FedEx that that they have to take my package. They're taking all the packages.
But by checking off express, that's what the
You check on Saturday delivery.
or whatever it is, the Saturday delivery, right? So then you're saying, as the Mishnah Berurah points out, you don't even have to say it, but by even setting up the situation where they have to, then you've essentially told them you need to go on Shabbos on my behalf.
Yeah, but you see, this is what I don't understand. So this is not good, right? You cannot do this.
Right.
But we talked about a case of happens to me, right? I
Right.
don't know anything.
Where they
It
deliver
says
to
it
you.
will- But he says it will be delivered on Saturday. Why is that okay?
So that's going to be fine because at the end of the day, but if you're talking about like the 2-day delivery, so the 2-day delivery is fine because I told them it's fine to deliver on the first day too. They chose to do a Saturday because it was better for them. That's a daite the nafshek of it. I told them they could deliver it on Friday. I know it says on the Amazon website it says Saturday. First of all, I look very carefully. It says it'll arrive by Saturday.
Right.
Okay, number
I
one.
have had situations where they deliver it in 1 day.
Correct. So it is perfectly within their right to deliver it earlier to you, right? Which may sometimes be inconvenient. You're like, oh, I'm away, so I only want to get it in 2 days. I don't want to sit outside and the rain is going to, Sometimes if they deliver it 1 day early, you can't complain to them and say you delivered it on day 1. I want it on day 2. So since they can do it in a perfectly mutter way, it's perfectly fine. Even though you know that 98% of the time, they're going to deliver it on Saturday. And we'll talk more about what happens when it gets delivered. Can you take it inside? Can you kick it inside? Things like that. But bottom line is, if they deliver on Saturday, it's perfectly fine. And you can set up a situation where you pay for 2-day shipping. It's Thursday. I know they're probably going to deliver it on Saturday, but as long as they could get it to the destination before Shabbos and they chose to do it, take a little more time, you're okay. You didn't tell them beferish that you need to do this on Shabbos for me. I told you I need a letter delivered. As long as you don't beferish say it or set up a situation where they have to do it on Shabbos, I gave them another option. It's mutter. That's the key because it's a daite nafshei kavi. They're choosing to do it at that time. I didn't force them to do it at that time. So long as I'm not forcing them, then they're good. Then it's good. No good. No problem. What was that? You can't do anything with it, but
anyway, so
correct.
But the rates are different. The 2-day delivery and Saturday delivery. So by not paying for an express delivery, which comes on Shabbos, it's unlikely that they're going to push it
For Shabbos.
through. Yeah.
Right. But that's their choice. Meaning,
It has happened.
wait,
2 days and it came next day.
by the way, it's and again, it's not so much, so I paid this, but they could still choose whatever they want. At the end of the day, to actually get the physical item to your house, if it can be done, I know they're not prioritizing, you at the top of the list, but if in theory they could, then it's totally fine. Again, we're dealing with a din d'Rabbanan here, so there's no reason to be, I think, more stringent than the letter of the law is. They were worried about things happening on Shabbos, that you forced the situation to happen on
The
Shabbos.
only thing about that argument about who's delivering 600, but the less delay, the less it's really stupid for you. The mail carrier, yes, he's carrying 500 letters for people, but the less step he takes is specifically for you.
Right. So the way that you could justify is that once it's already in the place where it needs to be for, it's in the tchum, it's in the city. So you say, oh, the last step. What's the isser in the last step, right? There's nothing really technically wrong once you're already halfway. You're basically there. So that's the way you could justify it. Yeah, exactly. But okay, let's keep going here. Back in the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so we read a little side point. Now we're ready to keep going. The im lo katzatz, second sentence. The im lo katzatz. If you don't stipulate here to the non-Jew here, take the 50 cents here and deliver my letter. Lo kivia be doar perish ish yadua shekol ksav elav yuval v'lo mishachol lemish shaluach elav, which is another way of saying postman, or actually you'll see in a moment here. Where is it? It's a great thing here. Postmaster. We'll see. The Mishnah Berurah is going to say this is the postmaster. You don't have a postmaster in your town. B'masa, in the city. Also lishloach afilu miyom rishon. Even from Sunday, you can't send letters in such a fashion, where there's no postman in the town where you're sending it to, who's permanently there, and you didn't stipulate a price. Like you just sent it, and whether it's I'll pay you for your time at the end or something like that, or whatever. You don't make it really kind of any kind of agreement financially exactly. You take a letter, I give you $1. If you take the letter, I give you $5. You didn't make such an arrangement. You say, oh, I'll pay you. Maybe based on time, which is also maybe another problem. But anyways, so then it's prohibited even from Sunday. This is the opinion of the Rambam. Can't even say so. You can never send a letter in such a circumstance to such a city, which of course is very hard if you want to send mail. You can't even send it on Sunday. We'll explain in a second. But if there is a postmaster in the town, even right before Shabbos, it's okay to send. Even if you were not katzas, you didn't make a price, you didn't set a price with the non-Jew. But what must happen? You must be able to arrive. The letter has to be able to, in theory, arrive. There is enough time for it to arrive, not actually arrive, that it could arrive to the first house that's closest to the wall, meaning the first house of the city. This, as I mentioned last week, has to do with tichum. Once it's in the city, so now no prohibition is being done on my behalf. Once it continues to be walked from there, right? That's my point, right? Once the letter is in the city, so it's in the city. Now, you'll say there's no eruv, whatever. So first of all, notice here there's a choma. So choma means that there is, by virtue, there's an eruv, it's a walled city. You don't need to put up all the strings. So here, again, probably you're circumventing all the problems that could be. Now, before we read the Ramah, because the Ramah changes everything, this whole simon, and it loses the fun once you read the Ramah. You don't get then you'll just tune out on me. So here we go. Let's read Aleph in the Mishnah Berurah. We skipped it because it's actually, now that we read this, we can understand it better. So the law of sending an igeres hu adin b'chol malachos. This really is the halacha with all malachos. You give them a job and they can't actually complete the job by the time Shabbos starts. So you have to make a stipulation here. I'm going to pay you X to do this malacha, and whenever it gets done, it gets done. Because then they're doing it on their own accord. They're choosing when to do it. They could have done it for me on Sunday. They chose to do it on Saturday. That's their own choice. Which we'll talk about more of this topic about Adaita Denafshe Kavod when we get to Ration and Beis. Igeres. Why was Igeres specified by the Gemara? Funny case of all cases to pick that there's special halachos by an Igeres. I mean, the halacha applies by every other situation, you would think. La'ashmu inan, it was this case of Igeres was taught to teach us that low kotzas, if you don't fix a price with the carrier, below kavia beidor b'masa, and there isn't a postmaster in that particular city, osir kidamasik, as we conclude in the Shulchan Aruch, v'atam kemoshe kasav nilakamed. The reason is, as we'll see in a moment, which I'll explain when we get there. Special reason. What does the postmaster have to do with any of this? We'll talk about that. He says, "Aval shar kelim v'chafatzim, other vessels and my objects or maos or money in shalech biyad eno Yehudi be'erev Shabbos hadin kol b'chol malachos. Malacha should be like any other malacha. If I send it, I send money, I send my ladder, whatever. I send things. It should be okay. Ulakach afilim lo katzatz. Even if you don't stipulate the a fixed price to the carrier." Then we're not concerned that my ladder is not going to get there, my money is not going to get there, because if there's time to get there before Shabbos, it's okay. We're not worried that when the non-Jewish delivery, or my non-Jewish friend who's delivering on my behalf, gets to the house he locks on the door. We're not worried. Oh, he's not going to find him in his house. And he's now the whole time he's going to start walking around on Shabbos. Where is Yankala, the Jew? I have a special delivery from him, from so and so. We're not worried that it's going to happen. It could happen, but we don't worry about such a thing that happens. By a letter, there's a greater concern. Now we're going to explore why is by a letter a greater concern. But that's why other things are okay. We don't mention here because if it doesn't get there by the time Shabbos gets there, but the non-Jew can't find him, and so now he'll drag into Shabbos, and he's going to have to start calling around town, and all the Jews are going to say, "Look at the Yankala, he's in Machal Shabbos. Look at him making deliveries. They're sending him all sorts of things on Saturday." We're not worried about that. It's too much of a far-fetched situation. We wouldn't be concerned that you can't send the chayfetz, before Shabbos, as long as there's enough time to get there. Look at Hey though in the Mishnah Berurah. Lo kivia beitoa. Hainu. What does it mean that there is not a postmaster, a post office, that's sort of there the whole time? Hainu she'ein kavua tamid. So sometimes there's a postman in your town, and sometimes there isn't. Because why? I'm sending it to Columbus, Ohio. There are very few people who live in Columbus, Ohio. There's not. Sometimes there's a postman there, sometimes not. But sometimes the postman goes to Cleveland to do his work in Cleveland. So usher, then it's usher because he's not always in Columbus, Ohio. Because what might happen? Here is the fear. The non-Jew who you send won't find where you won't find the place where to send the letter. He gets to the town. He didn't exactly have addresses like we have today, where it's so clear. You live on 145 Waverly Road. Okay, that's easy, by the way. Then I need to find Waverly Road, and I keep walking until I see the number. But if I just know I need to send it to Yankala, I don't know where he lives. I know he lives in this town, but I don't know where he lives. I'm not sure, by the way, when streets, named streets became a thing in the world. It's interesting to know. I don't know when did street names become, an easy way to demarcate, where you were going in a town. After the Gemara, for sure. For sure, after the Gemara. The question is, I don't think the Shulchan Aruch was aware of this concept either, right? They didn't have such a thing.
Even though they're old Roman maps in Yerushalayim, showing names of streets.
From what time
like
period?
the Cardo in Yerushalayim.
Wow.
Via
Cardo means Main Street.
Right.
Yeah, Via Dolorosa, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So there you go. So there, I
yeah.
guess there were some already that had.
But there are today, the cities that is by building name, neighborhood name.
Right.
Building in the neighborhood. in India.
So you have to assume in this situation that obviously he doesn't really know where to go once he gets to the town.
Tokyo, but to this day.
They don't have street names?
They don't have numbers on it.
Where?
Well, that's confusing.
Tokyo.
Oh, well, no, they have numbers, but it's so weird. The number of the house they number them as when they were built. So you could have.
Well, that's helpful.
One next, no, one next to 500, next to 3, next to 27. It's so weird. Gene had a lot of trouble.
Ay, ay, ay. So what's the fear here? And then you're going to start walking around town, and you're really going to, because you know, I'm going to start with where's Tommy? Where is Tommy? I'm going to start walking around the whole town with this letter. And what will happen? What's the fear? We're machmir in this situation. In our situation, where we want to be cautious about what the people will see that the handwriting is the handwriting of a Jew. Now, it could mean
It's written in Hebrew.
it's written in Hebrew, right? That also could be the problem here, right? It's written in a way that it's clear that, or it is something the Nikar Masa Yisrael.
Poland.
It's a Masa Yisrael. Everyone will know that this letter was written by a Jew.
Because when they write Yiddish, they write it with Hebrew.
Right, very right.
With
So
Hebrew
this,
characters.
so exactly. So here you have a situation where people are going to know this is a Jewish. The letter was written by a Jew.
Wrote him. I'm sure that's what they did.
Right. So Yomru b'Shabbos nasan lo laholich. People will say that the sender commissioned right to nasan lo laholich. You go.
Marasayan.
It's a Marasign. We're back to Marasign. They're going to think he sent him on Shabbos. Look at this. He's walking around town. Where's Tommy? Where's Tommy? Where's Tommy? He must have told him you need to find him. You need to find him. Vafil b'Shabbos. You need to find him. The im came. Im nichtav ha'igers b'ksav einam Yehudim. If it's written b'ksav einam Yehudim means the vernacular.
Regular
Right?
Roman letter.
It's exactly, but it's not identifiably a letter that was written by a Jew, which means probably again not Hebrew letters. So then, Shori laholich afilu be'erev Shabbos udelo katzatz. He goes all the way to saying, and it's totally fine, even if you don't stipulate in a fixed price, and even on erev Shabbos. Kol sheyochol lahagia sham miboder. So again, so long as you don't have the tlum violation, that's a separate problem. They can get there before before Shabbos. Labayis rishon hasamuch l'chama to the first house of the city, right by the wall. Ukamoshi tarnu le'el b'shalech shar kalim. That's like with any other kalim. Or v'chafatzim ala ayde eno Yehudi. It's totally fine. We're not concerned. But when it's because a ladder is a ladder, it doesn't look like a Jewish thing. So you see a non-Jew walking around with a ladder looking for somebody. Okay, it could be that he ends up saying, "Oh, where's Tommy? Where's Tommy?" Or where But okay, we're not terribly concerned. It's already a far-fetched situation, and B, once you're already not, it's not clear that the sender is even Jewish. So Tommy can receive a ladder. Amazon might send you a ladder. Okay. But the sender is Jewish. We have a problem. So the only way you know a sender is Jewish is if the ksav is a ksav that is representative of a Jew, which again probably means it was written in Hebrew or in Yiddish, but again Hebrew letters. Correct. Right. So that's the problem. That's the fear of this the Gemara has in this situation. That's why it's a very not something we have to worry about terribly today. It's true you could have a letter written in Hebrew. And even sometimes on the outside of the address, you could have it in Hebrew. But first of all, today everything is with a stamp and paid. So number one, you're never dealing with that. But even so, it's most of the time our letters, certainly in America, are written. You write the address, you put it, the number and the street name in English. You don't transliterate it into Hebrew. Okay. Also the shloach. This will be our last comment for the day. Vav. Kosav Ola Shabbos. The Ola Shabbos is an interesting work written only on Hilchot Shabbat. I don't remember. I'm forgetting now the author of the work. It's an Achronisha Sefer. Mishnah will often quote him in ways where he'll often actually disagree with the Ola Shabbos. Ola Shabbos will be machmir and on this. Anyway, so here the Ola Shabbos writes, V'nira It, it would appear that all of this, what we're talking about, that we're dealing with, is when it is being sent through, by means of the non-Jew to a Beit Dawar on that particular city. Aval, meaning if it's sent to a particular person, exactly, not to send it to the city, send it to this, because it's not even just like they're looking for Tommy, by the way. They walk in the letter through town. It arrives at the Beit Dawar. The postman goes, the postman sees it's got Hebrew letters on it. And others may, as he's walking around town, they see that he's got the Hebrew letter on the package. That's when you're sending it to a Beit Dawar. But if you're sending it to a particular person, you don't need to be concerned that you're not going to be able to find his house, and then you're gonna have to walk around the whole time on Shabbos. And where's the house? No, you'll know where the house is. He'll give you the approximate directions. That's okay. Even Erev Shabbos, even when there's not a fixed price. As long as the non-Jew could have gotten there before Shabbos, no tchum issue. That is what he thinks. Again, so this already you're already pulling back the chumrah even more here, right? So you're saying that it's only when it goes to the Beit Dawar, but if it's going to an individual, and so I'm not worried that I won't find the. But the Beit Dawar, here's also the problem. What's the Beit Dawar doing? Now we think of a post office like there's a building, you put a letter in the thing. What was the Beit Dawar? As the Ramah, or maybe that's the name of the Ramah, as the explanation was given upstairs in the Shulchan Aruch. It was a person. It was their job. So where might they be? They'd be running around town. They might be delivering letters right now. So, it's like how today, if you want to mail something, you could also, as when the mailman comes to your door, you could hand a letter or you could leave it up, on there, and they'll take it. But if that's the only way you can get the letter to the Beit, this is a person, so maybe they have a home base, but you don't want to, maybe they have a fancy system like we have today where you put it in a thing and it's held in a mailbox. So you have to go find the person. So you're walking all the way around town. But if I'm going straight to somebody's house, I know where they live. So okay, he may not be home, he or she may not be home, but okay, I'm not going to have to probably deal with that. It's a very unlikely scenario that they're not home and that I'm going to have to walk all around town to find this person for the whole day. But the postman, they may be walking around the town, and I might not catch them the whole time. So there's more walking around that has to be done, more potential for marisayin to take place. And he says here, das Moreno Harav Avram Miprag, Hamu Babach, the Bach who quotes Rav Avram Miprag, paskin like this as well. They also paskin Bakula. But that's Hataz of Magen Avram, the Taz of the Magen Avram on the side of a regular page of the Shulchan Aruch. Even when you're sending it to your friend, you still need to be concerned. People will see that the Ksav Yad is a Jew. Later on, what happened? They found the Rabbeinu Hananel, who's one of the early Rishonim. You can find his commentary now on a standard printed Gemara, Vilna Shas Gemara, on the side of the Vilna Shas. So they didn't know, but they didn't have a Gemaras that we have today always. Okay, we have a certain printing. So they said that a particular comment of Rabbeinu Hananel came to light, and it turned out his comments. Ola Shabbos didn't know that the Rabbeinu Hananel said it. Turned out Rabbeinu Hananel, one of the early Rishonim, yes, he's one of the very early Rishonim, said exactly the point of the Ola Shabbos. So certainly Yeshal Malismoch was in a very early interpretation of the Gemara. Umiu Amar le'eno Yehudi she'elech l'sham ve'yimsor lebnei beis shel oso ish im lo yimtzenu lekule al mashari afilu erev Shabbos. Even the Taz and the Magen Avraham would say, when you get to the house, you're just going to deliver it. Whoever's home, the children are home, this home, you're going to slide it under the door. Meaning, I get there, it's done. Then even the Magen Avraham and Taz who are machmir about even sending it to your chaver, they'll say that's okay because you're just going, it goes straight under the door, straight to the children, whatever. I'm not worried if I don't find the person. Even if you don't stipulate, it's all fine. As long as you can get to the city where you're not doing malacha on my behalf, or you're violating Isser on Shabbos on my behalf, we're not concerned about the Marasai, and there's no problem of Isser Shabbos that's taking place. We'll stop here. We'll continue next time with the last few parts here, and we'll see the Ramah The Rama really throws us all out the window, basically, and says nothing to worry about. Even if there isn't a postman in your city or a postmaster in your city, you could, as long as you don't set it on Friday, you can set it on Thursday. It's all good. But again, today probably the only case that really emerges, as we've talked about from this simon, is the sending it express case, where it's problematic. Otherwise, you're probably in good shape with most things in terms of sending mail. Last questions here.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Have a great